This lecture is presented by John Moffat of Open Tuition. For other free lectures, visit opentuition.com.
We're working through the hybrid exam, September-December 2015, for paper F5. And let's have a look at question 2. Yet again, look at the requirements first. A, calculate the overall satisfaction percentage for each operator, 2 marks. And incidentally, keep your eye on the marks. If it's 2 marks, it can't be terribly difficult. The examiner's not that unfair. So if you do find yourself getting into a mess, leave it. It's not worth spending too long on 2 marks. Had it been 10 marks, obviously, you would expect there to be a lot more work involved. Anyway, we'll come back and do that shortly. B, taking into account all the data in the table and your calculations from part A, discuss whether the managing director's statement is true. Well, at the moment, until we've read it, I can't obviously say much about that, except the 4 marks. And finally, part C, again 4 marks. Required, briefly define efficiency and effectiveness. Now, if you've done your studying, that's textbook, that shouldn't take many moments. But also suggest one performance measure for each, which would help bus company assess efficiency and effectiveness of the service it provides. So let's make a start. And of course, for part A, we certainly need to look what's going on. Bus company is a large bus operator operating long-distance bus services across the country. There are 2 other national operators in the country. A bus company's mission is to be the market leader in long-distance transport, providing a greener, cleaner service for passengers nationwide. Last month, an independent survey of 40,000 passengers was carried out. The results are in the table below. And you'll see there are the 3 operators, Bus, which is us, and the competitors Prime and Express. And they've given satisfaction percentages under each of 3 headings. Value for money, satisfaction 67% for us. Punctuality, we're 80%. Journey time, 82%. Well, we've got that table. The star, under overall satisfaction, the percentage hasn't been calculated. And it says below, the overall satisfaction percentages, which have not yet been inserted into the table, are calculated using a weighted average, which reflects the importance customers place on each of the other 3 criteria. The weightings used are as follows. Value for money 40%, punctuality 32%, journey time 28%. And finally, the managing director has said, independent research has shown that our customers are the most satisfied of any national bus operator. We're now leading the way on what matters most to customers: value for money and punctuality. Well, now we can get going. Calculate the overall satisfaction percentage for each operator. Well, this should be quick. It's simply a weighted average. So for us, for bus company, we're going to take 40% of the value for money percentage, 32% of the punctuality percentage, 28% of journey time. So what is it? 40% of 67 plus 32% of 80, 28% of 82. So it's now just calculator work. 40% of 67 plus 32% of 80 plus 28% of 82. I get 75.36. So I'll try and write a bit neater. It's a percent. Doesn't matter whether you put a percent sign in or not. But there's the weighted average. So it's a combination of 2 things. I mean, obviously, you've got to be fast with your calculator. It's only 2 marks here. You can't waste time messing around. Also, though, do show your workings. Do. Anybody can make a silly mistake. If it's clear what you're trying to do, then even if I've made a silly mistake at the end and I've got half the marks, if all I'd have done was put an answer down, you're taking a risk. One silly mistake and you end up getting 0. Anyway, for the others, it's obviously just repetitive. So prime, 40% of 58, 32% of 76, 28% of 83, which comes to 0.458, 32% of 76, 28% of 83, I get 70.76. And finally express 40% of 67, 32% of 76, 28% of 89. So the last one. I get 76.04. Incidentally, I'm using the memory on my calculator so I can do it all at once. And do practice. Try and be efficient with your calculator, because to have worked each one out separately and then written it down and then added it out, it just wastes time when this very much is a speed thing. So yeah, that's part A. All right, only 2 marks, but a nice start. What about part B? Taking into account all the data in the table and your calculations from part A, discuss whether the managing director's statement is true. What was his statement? The MD of a bus company has said, independent research has shown that our customers are the most satisfied of any national bus operator. We're now leading the way on what matters most to customers: value for money and punctuality. Well, 4 marks, we're not expected a lot, but it's 2 things there. The statement. What about the first sentence? Independent research has shown that our customers are the most satisfied of any national bus operator. Well, we've worked out an overall satisfaction rating. We're 75.36%. That's certainly better than Prime, which is only 70.76, but it's not as good as Express. So his first statement is not true. Our customers are not the most satisfied. I quote the figures. As always, when it's written, I'm not going to write a great long answer. But you don't need much more than what I've written, just turn it into a sentence. But they're not the most satisfied. Express, in fact, is slightly better than us on overall satisfaction. What about his second sentence, though? We're now leading the way on what matters most to customers: value for money and punctuality. Well, are we leading the way on those 2? On value for money, look back at the original table. We're 67%, Prime 58, Express 67 as well. So on value for money, I'm not sure you could actually say we're leading the way. We're joint first. Excuse me. Which, okay, not bad, but, strictly we're not leading the way. Otherwise, we're the highest of the 3. What about punctuality? Are we leading the way there? Yes, we are. We're 80%. The others are only 76, so certainly we are leading the way there. So that bit of it's true. One third thing, though, you could have mentioned, we dealt with value for money and punctuality, but it says what matters most to customers. Now, he said it's value for money and punctuality. Well, what weightings have we given them? When we took a weighted average, we attached more importance to value for money, 40%, than we did to journey time, which was only 28%. And so we're assuming, when we've worked out overall satisfaction, that he's right about what matters most. Where did that information come from? How do we know that what matters most is value for money and that punctuality is more important than journey time? It is an assumption. Where did he get the information from? If it turns out that, in fact, customers were more concerned about punctuality, then that should have had journey time. If it did turn out that customers really were more concerned with journey time, then our overall satisfaction ratings become a bit questionable, because there should have been a higher percentage, perhaps, applied to journey time. Finally, what about part C? I said when we started this that part of this is really a textbook, but defining efficiency and effectiveness. And I do try and go to lengths within the lectures to make the difference clear, because I fully appreciate in some languages the two words translate to mean the same thing. Efficiency, and the best way of explaining several ways. The best way of explaining is how well are we using the resources. And before we talk about effectiveness, I will give a performance measure. It says suggest one performance measure for each. So only one. The examiner's answer suggested 2 or 3 to help learn from it, but you're only required 1. But what we're getting at, you see, is what are the resources would you expect used by a bus company? I think the main resources, that are costing them money, are the buses themselves, obviously, and all the running costs involved, and the drivers, the staff. Well, think about the buses. We want to use the buses as efficiently as we can. And I think a very standard measure would be the occupancy rate. By that I mean, on average, what percent of the bus is full? If we can always have the buses 100% full of people, we're using the buses the most efficient we possibly can. If on the other hand, we're operating buses and only 10% of the seats are full, then things aren't very efficient. We'd need to look at ways of getting the occupancy rate up, perhaps have fewer buses, but fuller buses. But that's efficiency. How, are we keeping the buses full? The other side of it, though, effectiveness. Effectiveness is looking at how successful we are in providing the service. Are we providing a good service? So you're efficient if you're using the resources well. You're effective if you're giving the customers a good service. Well, what might we measure? You've got a clue there. Things like a concern with punctuality, journey time. But how would you measure? What would you measure? One example, and punctuality is going to matter, of course, would be what percent of journeys arrive on time? Very standard for airlines. Airlines are always publishing, what percent of flights arrive on time. And if we measured that, then surely the higher the percentage, the better, the more effective we are at delivering the service. Now, as I keep saying, do read the examiner's answer and learn from it. But again, always the examiner writes more than you're expected to write. And certainly for part C, what I've done there, what I've written there, that'd be worth all 4 marks. Okay, so that was question 2. Let's leave that there.